Get up and brush off the dew on that turf today. Turf today. Turf today. Cut it and roll that dew on that turf today. Turf today. Turf today. Set up, they about to come through on that turf today. Turf today. Turf today. Get up. Turf today. Get up. Turf today. Let's get out the way. Here comes first play. Let's maintain that turf today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Turf Today, presented by Toro and recorded on the Superintendent Network. My name is Adam Kershane, joined by my co-host Brian Laurent, and this week we are very, very, very pleased to be joined by the Director of Agronomy at Loraloma, Mr. Stewart Naugler. We've wanted to talk to Stu for a while now, and we're very fortunate to get him on with the project complete and the golf course up and running. So everybody, buckle up. This is going to be a good one. Let's head down to Ohio and patch in Mr. Laurent. How old's he now?
7.
Okay, yeah.
He's still got a lot of pup in him.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He's a
Just
beagle,
better.
right? Yeah, it sounds a bit better.
Beagle Jack Russell mix. Yeah.
Beagle
Yeah.
Jack Russell.
Beagle Jack Russell. A little bit of maybe Basset Hound in him. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Lots of life left.
57. Yeah.
He's 57.
Yeah,
a
man.
little bit of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. What's going on in your world?
Being a full-time dad and
Yeah.
putting out fires, literally putting out fires on the golf course right now. Did you
Well, that's
see
fun.
that? Did you see the video yesterday?
Yeah. Was that you guys?
That was our golf course.
No way.
I'm at home working Monday, and I just recorded or editing the podcast, and I get a call. Adam, the tree's on fire on 3. I was like, the tree? Because it's one of those holes. It's a dogleg right, and it's got one massive pine right kind of on the right edge of the fairway. So it really cuts that hole in half. You know, you really can't really go for it. So iconic tree. You know, there was lots of theories about lightning or root fire or something like that, but we don't have any wires. We have a hydraulic system on the course. There's no power out there. We don't burn anything near those holes at all. So, you know, there wasn't rain. There's no weather in the area at all. So we just talked about it maybe being a cigar butt or a cigarette butt, because the tree itself had a little bit of damage at the bottom, had a little bit of a hole. It had some ant holes. There was some sawdust down there, and, you know, it was spring. We hadn't really cleaned any of that up yet. So if somebody threw a cigarette butt over there or cigar butt, it caught on fire. And you know, this was like 2:00, I think. Our superintendent headed out. He was still there, fortunately, and he had headed out. And I guess the fire had gotten to be pretty big, and he had like a little bit of water in his water bottle. He threw it on, and nothing happened. So he went back to the shop and grabbed 2 fire extinguishers. He said he emptied both of them into the tree, and the tree was still going. Like, he was still just humming. So, you know, he thought maybe we can get it out, maybe it'll stop burning or whatever, and it just kept going. So he's like, I'm gonna have to cut this thing down. So middle of play, middle of the hole, tree's on fire, and he gets, unfortunately, you know, he tried to get it all towards the rocks. The tree was leaning towards the fairway, so he's really trying to get it towards the rocks, and he pinches his saw. So he's like, shit. And he goes back to the shop, grabs the bucket, grabs the tractor with the bucket, comes out, pushes it, other saw back cut, and the thing drops. And as the thing's hitting the ground, you see all the flames come flying out of the stump, and it's just incredible. So
Jeez.
I don't know. I know, working at like a private members club, if you had a tree like that come down, somebody'd be in big trouble, you know? So this is one where, kind of like semi-private course, you know, you can kind of have anybody out there, and somebody throws a cigar butt in the base of a tree and it's the wrong one.
Yeah.
Down she
Yeah.
goes.
That's tough.
Yeah.
I saw it look like just some random golfer came over and was like just kind of meandering around. Like, what's this guy going to do to help?
Yeah. Yeah. That was one of our marshals was just kind of
Okay.
out there giving a hand because all the turf staff was gone at that point. Even our mechanic
Yeah.
had left, right? It was just our superintendent still kicking around, fortunately, because he lives like half an hour away and he could have been at home at that point. So just a wild thing to happen on the course. As we've done turf today for years, we see all these weird things and crazy things to happen, but to have something like that happen at your own course was just pretty crazy. And
Yeah.
everybody keeps saying the person who did it, imagine going out for your next round a few days later and you're like,
Yeah. What
I
happened?
I
There used to be a tree there.
that might have been me.
Yeah.
Shit. But I talked to a couple of our pros on number one this morning, and I was like, "Are you guys going for it on three?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, we got it now. Like it's wide open." So that's just one of those things. Might even
Yikes.
improve the golf course. Might speed up play a little bit. Who knows? But
Yeah.
always a
Yeah,
tough
it
one.
could. Yeah. Unless guys are just going to be standing around, like, waiting for things to clear out a little longer. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true too. Might need to get a little mirror to the green if guys are all going to be going for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh boy, I didn't
That's
think of that.
nuts.
And the tee box for the next hole is directly beside that green too. So
Oh, is it?
yeah, we might have to have
Oof.
some conversations.
Yeah. Hey, at least everyone's safe.
So what about you? How was your week?
Was out at golf course on Monday doing some footage here locally, some member update type stuff, wrapped up some PGA championship stuff, and then just with some schedule changes, getting ready. I'm going to actually head back to the PGA, go spend a couple days out there next
Nice.
week. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday-ish, going to be out there for a couple days with the team. So pretty excited for that.
Yeah, we're gonna get a couple videos.
Yeah, I'm gonna do a couple things. So I told him, I'm gonna try and do some documentary type stuff for him. Just kind of be a fly on the wall with the microphone going and
Love it.
see what I can come up with. Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah,
It's getting
exactly.
to be
So
so much content out there. I know we talked to Marcus a
that's
couple weeks
insane.
ago. He talked about all the different accounts and everybody who's posting stuff, which is so good, right? Like it's
Yeah,
so positive for our industry and people that we've always had this job where you can beautify things and have that instant gratification. And the fact that you can now share it with your friends, your family, or people all over the world is so cool.
yeah, absolutely. It's great to see so many people embracing it and putting stuff out there, and opening up that curtain to let people see what's happening behind the scenes. So,
There he is.
What's up,
Stewart,
gentlemen?
what's going on in your world, man?
Not much. Just had probably too much rain for my liking, but it's difficult to complain about any kind of rain here in Central Texas. We've been in a pretty severe drought for years, so any rain is good rain. Just from a playability standpoint, we're a little too green for my liking at the moment.
It's so interesting, all the different conditions and different things people have to go through in all the different areas. It keeps everybody on their toes. It's fun.
Yeah, it's such a different world. I grew up in Michigan and coming down to Central Texas and learning warm season grass, learning all the challenges from a water standpoint. It's just a completely different world. So it's cool that our industry has so many different kind of micro environments.
It's cool, huh? Is that what you're saying?
Well, for some of us, it
Yeah,
could be considered a nightmare, but
yeah, exactly. There. Now we're talking reality here still.
totally.
Yeah. So we always like to start things off. Just give you an opportunity here to introduce yourself.
Awesome. Stewart Naugler, originally from Flint, Michigan, third generation superintendent. My dad was GM golf course superintendent at a small club outside of Flint, Goodrich Country Club, for 35 years. This is kind of all I've ever known. Grew up in this business, was planning on taking over for him at one point, and then the economy kind of fell out in 08, 09, especially in Flint, Detroit at the time. So went to Michigan State. Kind of always knew I'd end up at Michigan State, and that kind of jump started things. As soon as we started talking about placement training and internships, Dr. Trey Rogers came to me and said, I think you'd be perfect for something I have in mind out on the West Coast. And I said, Cypress Point. And he goes, that's exactly what I was thinking. And I go, well, that's been my dream since I was a child. So I'd love to go out there. Him and Jeff were already talking, discussing if Trey had a candidate that was mature enough to go out there, because it's a different world. The expectations, the cost of living. At the time, there was no housing, and
Oof.
Pepple was having the 2010 U.S. Open, so Jeff was super cool about allowing us to go over there and work that. And that was kind of the best experience of my entire career, working for him, seeing things at that level, and being under a guy that was so calm, cool, collective in that environment. Like, it changed my whole outlook on this industry. From there, went out to Chicago, was an assistant at Olympia Fields and Midlothian. When I was out there, my dad got diagnosed with stage 4 prostate cancer, and kind of out of the blue asked me to move home, and I moved home immediately. Spent the last couple of years with him. Took the only job that was available back in Michigan at the time at a small, privately owned 9-hole private club, and took care of some other properties at the same time. Helped him at his property continue to get health insurance while he was going through cancer treatment. And then once he passed away, my mentors and everyone in my network always knew I wanted to do a new build, because we did renovation work at Cypress. We did a lot at Olympia Fields, Midlothian, but I've never done a new build. And after my dad passed, I got a call and said, DMK is doing something in Central Texas, and you got to see the property. And at the time, I'm thinking, Texas, it's going to be flat. It's going to be boring. I played a lot of golf in Texas. And once I saw the property, I'm like, I have to do this. This is it. And it's been everything I've ever thought it would be. And that's where I'm at now, Loraloma, just outside of Austin, about 30 minutes.
That's incredible. There's so much to unpack there. An amazing resume. We love to go back and just talk about those early memories. And yours is a one that's all too familiar here on the show. Having a dad that was a superintendent, a grandfather that was a superintendent. It's you must have some amazing memories of being raised on the golf course.
And it back then, it was the early 90s to the late 90s. It was kind of like the golden era. Everyone had good budgets. There was a lot of golf being built in Michigan. It was just like idyllic. It was like a dream to go to work every day, have a staff that wanted to be there, not having labor shortages and things like that we're dealing with now. And it was just like magical. And it probably gave me an image of this industry that's not reality, but now that post-COVID, the golf boom, it's kind of getting back to that. And if you're at the right place, you do have the resources, and it is kind of like a golden period again, like it was in the 90s.
I'd love to dive deeper into when you got that phone call. Talk about everything that was kind of going through your head, the considerations, all the things that you were weighing as to whether or not you were going to accept this role.
It was an interesting time in my life, because I had just gotten engaged to my fiance. She was in her last year in medical school in Detroit at Wayne State. And she just had her match day for her internal medicine residency. And she matched right next to my house in Metro Detroit. So we met up, and I'm like, I have this once in a lifetime opportunity. I know you just matched, kind of our dream scenario. You got your second choice, and that doesn't really happen in that world. And but she was really supportive. She goes, I know you've always wanted to do this. I'm going to be in residency working 80 hours a week. You're going to be growing in a golf course, working probably more than that. Like, we're both going to be busy. Just go do it. I'll support you 100%. And that was the biggest factor, because I always wanted to work with DMK. His dad was a superintendent as well. I followed him in the late 90s building Bandon Dunes. And I was only like 14, 15 years old at the time, so I didn't have a hope of working out there. But I always wanted, it was a dream. And to have a chance to work with DMK on a phenomenal piece of property, new built. It was, from a career standpoint, it was a no-brainer. From a personal life standpoint, it was a little more stressful. So when I was a kid, I was a golf nut, and I still am. I mean, that's probably why I love this industry so much. So I was one of the first kind of members of Golf Club Atlas back in the late 90s, and every little thing that happened out at Bandon was posted about there. When the sheep ranch became a thing, that was talked about constantly. So there was kind of like this lore out there, and I would write letters to DMK and to Tom Doak, and when I'm old enough and I graduate from church school, I want to work with you guys, and they would all respond really nicely, and it's kind of become a full circle moment. Finally getting to work with kind of the godfather of Bandon Dunes, DMK, here in Texas.
I'm a fellow GCA nerd as well, so I used to go on Golf Club Atlas all the time. I just want to know, how many notebooks did you fill up with golf hole designs and golf course designs?
Oh, every one of my spirals from middle school and high school are filled with golf hole designs that are probably completely ridiculous. And David and Tom and Gil would probably laugh at me if they saw them, but I was obsessed. And,
Yeah.
and the level of like the nerds on that website and how deep they get into things, it's like there is no rabbit hole you can't go down there. If you're really passionate about this stuff, that's the place to be.
Yeah, man, I could spend hours going through that discussion board. It's absolutely insane. And just, the knowledge base, the people, some of those interviews that they have with some of the people in there. I mean, it's a nice resource if you're into golf course architecture. There's no question. Talk about that experience. Then you get down to Loraloma, you're working with the MK. Talk about getting into the heat of building a golf course.
So it was an interesting process. So just getting the job. I mean, there were 700 qualified applicants. They flew 10 of us out to the national conference in Phoenix, and then 3 of us made it to the on-site interviews. And that first on-site interview, kind of walking the property, and I'm walking through thick cedar and rock, and it's hard to kind of see the cliff's edge and the entire property. So I walked the whole thing with DMK and his construction superintendent, Chip Caswell. And at the end, they're like, we're going to use Zoysia grass. If you want to push back, you can, but the grass is already ordered. It is what it is. It's going to be wall to wall. We want it as firm as this tabletop, but we haven't really played a golf course in Texas that has it as firm and fast as we want it. So you're going to have to figure it out. And I was just like, wow, I've never done any warm season. This is my first experience. Now we're going to sprig greens to Lazer Zoysia, a grass that only one other course at the time had, Highland Pines, just outside of Houston. And it's not a particularly high level club. So when I met with that superintendent, there was not a lot of good insight on a program. So we had to kind of develop all that. And it was stressful. I mean, DMK is not the type of guy that shows up one day a month. I mean, he's there 2 to 3 weeks out of every month. He knows enough to be dangerous. His dad was a superintendent. He understands agronomy, and he was on us every day. Like, this is what I want you to do. This has to be, more water, more fertility. Well, if you do that with Zoysia, it becomes puffy and the opposite of what he wants. So we had to fight that battle constantly because he wanted the grow in to be accelerated. But when we were open, we wanted to be firm and fast. So there was this constant back and forth. And it probably took years off my life, but it probably accelerated my career like a rocket ship.
Well, it's a good thing you're going to be married to a doctor. Then she can kind of help you recover from all that.
Oh, she's like my nightly therapist on FaceTime.
How challenging is that, living in 2 different areas and trying to maintain that relationship? Obviously it's one thing when you're together and you're all working hours, but at least you can reconnect when you get home, even if it is 10 p.m. or whatever, but you're trying to maintain this relationship remotely.
It's tough. Luckily, what I tell my assistants and my friends, the one thing I got right in this life was my fiance. I mean, she is an angel. Like, I have never met a better human being that's more grounded and just kind of has the emotional intelligence. It has a relationship with God, and it's just like, she's an angel. So she's really the reason I'm successful. She's the reason that all this can happen, because she's so supportive. She's so even keeled. She's in a much more stressful environment than I am on a daily basis. So, I'll tell you about some of our challenges down the line, but there was time where we could only get 400,000 gallons of water per day, and we needed probably 1 million for growing. So we had to find like a quick solution to get 600,000 more gallons of water like that. And I would come to her at night and tell her these things, and she'd be like, well, I was in the cardiac ICU for 16 hours and I had to code this many patients. So I understand it's stressful, but there's much more stressful things in life. So she would just constantly keep me grounded, and we still see each other quite a bit. Luckily, we have the resources to, I either fly there once a month or she comes here once a month, and then
Nice.
she has 4 weeks vacation. So we do get to see each other quite a bit, but we are kind of yearning for the days where we're together full time.
No, it'll be so worth it, and that's so huge having a support system like that. I don't think we talk about that enough. You know, the spouses or partners to the superintendents, because there's a lot there that they have to, you know, either help with outside of the golf course or be a part of, and you know, be there to listen to sometimes. So
Yeah.
that is very nice that you highlighted that. We got to go back to this wall to wall Zoysia, second or third golf course in North America to pull that off. I know it's probably more common over in Asia, but can you dig into that a little bit and talk about why you guys made that decision and you know, where it's at now?
So I can tell you why DMK made the decision. They went down and played Highland Pines in February when the grass was dormant. And when Zoysia's dormant, it putts 14, 15 with very little inputs. So it plays phenomenally. But that's only for about 2 months a year. The rest of the time, it is a much more difficult grass to get speeds out of. So that's why they picked it. There's another reason they would go and visit all these different properties in Texas, and they didn't like all this edging around greens. So a lot of guys would have bent grass and then either Bermuda or Zoysia, and there'd be this deep edge around everything, and they didn't like that aesthetic of that and the playability of that. So they wanted one grass wall to wall, and so they basically decided that we're going to be the guinea pig with this Lazer Zoysia, and it was insanely stressful. I mean, knowing the expectations David had, ownership wanted perfection, and to do it on a grass that there was no program, there's no lane treadway Bermuda grass or Zoysia grass program. Like, you have to develop it, you have to figure it out, you have to figure out exactly, you know, how much N it requires, how much verticutting, top dressing. There's a lot of agronomists that told us there would be very little issues from a pest standpoint. We've had every pathogen under the sun. I mean, it's one thing when you are mowing these greens at 125. Well, we're mowing them at 70. Like, we're trying to get the firmest and fastest surfaces in the country, and fairways are at 250, surrounds are at 150, greens are at 70. And when you push turf like that, it doesn't matter what variety it is, you're going to get a lot of pressure from pest and mechanical damage and moisture stress. I mean, it's a lot, and to dial it in perfectly takes time, and we didn't have time. We had to produce on day one, and I'm incredibly proud of my team. We figured it out, but there was a lot of sleepless nights.
So what have you learned?
There's two things that I'll say. A lot of guys call me and say, you know, would you do it again? And the answer to that is, if you have the resources and you follow this program we developed, yes, you can do it again. It's much easier to get speeds out of Tiff Eagle or Mach 1 or some of these Bermudas, or a lot of guys have bent grass down here, and it's not great in the summer, but the rest of the year it's phenomenal. So you have to like work this grass like no other, because the leaf blade is so rigid and firm. It's just like any other Zoysia. What it is Zoysia minima and Zoysia matrella. So there's two Zoysias that they blended together. One is about like as fine as the hair on your arm, and the other one is diamond Zoysia, which is a grass a lot of guys use for tees and fairways. And it's really thin leaf blade, but that leaf blade's like as rigid as bristles on a comb. Like, it takes, you know, you have to get really tight and roll a lot and verticut and top dress to get that friction down and get the ball to roll on a daily basis. So would I recommend it? Yes. I mean, it's a great surface, but you have to know what you're doing, and you have to follow our program. And that's kind of what I told my assistants. I said, if we pull this off, you're going to be the only ones that know how to grow this grass on the planet. And it's kind of played out like that. Like, we get calls every month from different clubs.
Yeah, that was gonna kind of be my question with being the guinea pig. You guys are the first ones to sort of set the parameters. So are you creating these programs and sort of, adding to them as you go or changing them as you go?
Totally. So what we did, there's an agronomist down here, Justin White. He works for Harold's, and he was the superintendent at Sand Hills in Nebraska, and he grew in Clear Creek and Tahoe. So he has a lot of good experience, and he grew up in the Dallas area, was an assistant there for years. So he has a lot of good warm season and cool season experience. So he has a good, like, his knowledge base for a vendor is phenomenal. So we kind of sat down with him, and we started with the Bermuda program from Syngenta, and then we kind of combined that with Eric Pohl's bentgrass program from Driftwood, and the two together kind of got us a baseline on where we needed to start, but we tweak it constantly. We sit down with Justin and my two top lieutenants, Jess Luther and Christian Canifax, on probably a monthly basis, and we're constantly fine-tuning the nitrogen and adding we're adding a lot of fungicides, because we're seeing a lot of take-all, a lot of things we didn't think we would see on Zoysia, we've seen on this grass, and it's only because we're pushing it. If we didn't push it like we are, I think it'd be a very sustainable grass that any municipality could use and be very low inputs. But when you're pushing it like we are, you got to kind of throw the kitchen sink at it. And we had to figure it out, is why we figured it out.
Yeah, had no choice. We got to do it.
Yeah.
Talk about the emotions of opening day.
Looking back at it is like a dream, but at the time it was very stressful. About a month out, so we opened on October 25th. So August and September, we're lowering these heights, and we don't know exactly where we need to go to get 12 plus green speeds, because some of the greens we had just sprigged like 5 months ago, and the Zoysia is such a slow growing grass that, like Bermuda, you can sprig Bermuda and have a good surface in 12 weeks. You sprig Lazer Zoysia, and you're looking at least 200 days for full coverage, and they need to be 200 hot days. So it takes forever to grow it in, and then once you're there, you start lowering it. And because of our time window, we only had about a month to kind of dial that height of cut, and how much we're going to roll it, how much we're going to verticut it, how much we're going to top dress it. And so we started working it down, and it was about 4 weeks before opening day when I knew, okay, we can get the speeds that we need to get out of this. Like, this is going to work out. Is it way more maintenance intensive than I thought it would be? Yes. But is it doable? It is. And that took a little bit of weight off my shoulders, and there are still all kinds of other problems. When you're on a new build, things are still settling. You don't have drainage everywhere you want it, and you're still trying to dial in the moisture. And there's all these little things you're trying to tweak, while also learning a new grass that no one's ever really grown at this level before. It was incredibly stressful, but I remember seeing David. We had a media day 3 days before opening, and I ran into him, and he goes, "This is the firmest, fastest golf course I've ever played. This is better than Bandon Dunes. You guys killed it. Like, you didn't only deliver, you over delivered. And you don't need to take it any further. Like, this is about as firm and fast as I want it, but keep doing what you guys are doing." And to get that validation from him after just months of just hammering us was probably the most satisfying day of my entire career.
You guys are planning this course with all Zoysia and kind of thinking about the heights that you're going to have to mow those greens. Obviously, David's fairly well known for having some pretty severe undulations in his green complexes. Is that something that he took consideration of as he was building those greens. I mean, mowing at 700 with some of those undulations, I would have to assume there would be some scalping involved. So how have you managed that?
I love talking to you guys because you guys get it. Like some of the questions when superintendents call me. Those are the questions they ask, and you're spot on. It's David's greens are, I don't know if I'd call them extreme, but there is a lot of movement in them.
Yeah.
And to get a Flex 21 or a Flex 18 Toro mower to cut perfectly on a grass that's already like super abrasive to reel and bed knives. I mean, that thickness and that rigidness of that blade already wears down mowers like crazy. So you're having to contend with quality of cut, with the undulations, with having to mow them super low to get the speeds that you want. The blessing I will say is there's so much movement is to the point where you can't get them too fast. Like when we got them up 13 plus early on, and I had to tell my guys like, okay, this is probably a little too much. We're starting to put balls off greens and stuff like that. So the movement in some ways helps us, but we could not have done this without our equipment manager Ryan Bickham. He's a guy that I kind of pulled out of obscurity, but I knew he had experience with like CNC machines and precision, and he was a superintendent / GM mechanic at a small little municipal place in Gonzales, Texas. And he had applied to my best buddy, Ben Lauber's mechanic position at Travis Club. And Ben interviewed him and just said, he's probably not right for the head job yet, but he'd be perfect for this assistant equipment manager position you have open. So I interviewed him. At the time, he was like 26, 27 years old, but he was, yes, sir, no, sir. I'll figure it out and all this stuff. And that he has been a godsend. Like he got on these WhatsApp groups with equipment managers, talking to guys that have never mowed Zoysia this low before, but getting advice from here and there from guys across the country. Like he just figured it out. And it took us a long time to not scalp and to dial in that quality of cut, but he was able to do it. And without him, I don't think I'd be sitting here today.
That WhatsApp group is insane. If that's the same one that Rollins is in, it's like I had to turn off my notifications because it's like I'll open my phone and all of a sudden I've got 300 new messages coming into that WhatsApp group. I'm like, geez, I can't keep up, man.
They are so technical, it's insane. And if any of those guys are listening, I'm so grateful for you taking the time to help Ryan and get us dialed in. It was a game changer for us, and without it, like I said, we wouldn't be sitting here today.
It's a great conversation starter right there. So it sounds like you kind of hired him based on his attitude and kind of his willingness just to kind of figure it out. Is that something you're looking for in all the people that you're bringing on board?
Totally. So a lot of guys, and this is probably, I didn't mention this when I was telling you about my story, but I was never a good assistant superintendent because I was so passionate and I always wanted to push things so much. And now being in the top job, I understand why guys got annoyed at me because it's their ass on the line. But I could never really, take things to the level I wanted. So when I interviewed guys, I just wanted guys that were willing to push the limits. That like when I interviewed Ryan, he was like, yeah, I don't know anyone doing that, but we're going to figure it out. And I make sure they have the resources they need to figure it out. That's kind of my gig. I set the expectations and then they get to work. And Ryan really, had to go deep, kind of like Golf Club Atlas, like we're discussing before, these rabbit holes. He had to go down several rabbit holes. We sent him down to Eric Bowers at Blue Jack, kind of all these different places, Big Easy Ranch, to get ideas from everyone because we can never get that quality of cut. And you're right. I just wanted a guy with the right attitude and willingness to go places that no one's ever gone before. And the results of that is going to be a career changer for all these guys.
The equipment managers are becoming such a big part of the network now. And I think you have more guys that are coming out of their hole and, making more friends and joining the network, which is absolutely massive. The one little thing that I noticed earlier, I don't know if Brian caught this, but you referred to your assistants as lieutenants. I think that is so cool. Can you please talk to us about those guys and kind of how you hired them and what they're up to now?
So I don't like titles. That's probably why I call them that, because they're officially their titles are assistant superintendents, but they both get paid like superintendents, and the only reason they're not superintendents is because there's two of them. So kind of our hierarchy is myself, then I have two top lieutenants, Jess and Christian. They have two second assistants, and then we have an irrigation tech and a spray tech, two mechanics, and 26 laborers. And we built it that way so these guys can have a good quality of life. I know there's a lot of guys that come in here that either are big believers in work-life balance or don't believe it at all. And I worked at Olympia Fields for Sam McKenzie. I worked 100 hours a week. I know what that world's like, and I know what kind of like impact that had on my personal life. And I'm not looking to do that to these guys. So I make sure that like the expectations are through the roof. We put in the hours we need to put in, but my guys they only work every fourth weekend. It's like they have a chance to get away, and they love that so much that they're in a place that expects perfection, even though we'll never reach it. That's the expectation, but also has a good quality of life. So they've stayed with me from day one, and they both have a ton of opportunities moving forward. But they are still both with me at the moment, and I'm super grateful for both of them.
Are you seeing a big shift in that direction? Are you seeing more guys taking that mindset that you have, giving more flexibility to get away and being more creative with work schedules?
The way I look at it, and the answer is yes. And the way I look at it is you have two choices. You can be the guy that when I was at Olympia Fields, you could think to yourself, oh, I'm going to do this to my guys when I'm that head guy. Or you can be like Jeff Marco and be like, I'm at the number 2 golf course in the world, and I treat these guys like they're my sons, and they have great quality of lives, and we still produce a phenomenal product. So there's two ways of looking at it. And I think it's all on the director, because it's on you to get the resources for your team. And if you get the proper amount of resources, any kind of schedule or quality of life is possible. And I think down here in Texas, when you're working 12 months a year, kind of nonstop, you have to have some sort of quality of life. Now, back in Michigan in the Northeast, when you only are go time for 5 or 6 months, that could be a different story. And I can understand that, because then you have winters where you can kind of take a break, go on vacation and stuff like that. But down here, when you're a 12-month operation, you have to have that balance. And my good buddy at Travis Club, Ben Lauber, he does the same thing. I mean, it seems like everyone around here, even if they didn't adopt it, they're adopting it now, because it's so hard to get these top assistants. And luckily for me, when I got here, I was able to grab Jess Luther from Boot Ranch and Christian Canifeck from Cordillera Ranch, two of the top guys as far as I'm concerned. And I think one of the reasons I landed them is because I promised them good quality of life, and I think I delivered on that.
Well, our golf course culture and our turf culture is so important to be able to have that work-life balance and have those relationships and everything. So it sounds like you're doing a great job and seems like you're a person that people would enjoy working for. My question would be, does that all come from growing up in this industry, or do you draw that from somewhere else in your life, like sports or school or something like that?
So I did play a lot of sports growing up, but a lot of it's from my dad. My dad was just like salt of the earth. He was a literally citizen of the year for our local township. Like he was a great guy. He was a local volunteer fire chief, GM superintendent for 35 years, knew everyone. I mean, you go to dinner, everyone would stop at our table and say hi to him. And he just he knew how to network. He knew how to build relationships, and he was genuine about it. And then going from him to Jeff Marco was my first real mentor outside of my dad, and a guy that's at Cypress Point. I mean, top 5, 32 years, expectations through the roof. Took a old Alistair McKenzie design and like in-house restored it to like a level of perfection that I'm not sure a superintendent has been able to do, all while being cool, calm, collective. Like, if we don't finish that, we'll get it tomorrow. it was just an attitude that I have never seen before. And I think some of that is the Monterey Peninsula, the marine layer. Um, we weren't fighting like 100-degree temperatures all the time and stuff like that. So maybe that's part of it. But I think the kind of the vibe that the top guy sets is kind of what the whole operation follows. And the vibe my dad and Jeff Marco set was just phenomenal. And I think I hope I'm striving to provide the same environment for my guys.
So while we're on the topic of Jeff Marco, give me your initial reaction, expectation versus reality of what you thought Jeff would be like when you got out there.
Oh, going out there, I didn't know much about Jeff.
Yeah.
I only had saw his emails between Trey Rogers and himself, and they were like, I want someone mature. I want someone with experience. Like, this cannot be your run of a mill intern. And I was like, okay, this will be interesting. Number 2 golf course in the world. You know, I come from small country club world in Flint, Michigan. Like, this is going to be interesting. And I could kind of tell from the moment I met him, like, this guy's different. Like, the first day at lunch, he was like, put your lunch on my desk. Ask me anything you want. There's no stupid questions. So every day he'd be sitting at his desk. I'd be sitting right across from him eating lunch, just asking him, like, you know, was this an original bunker? Was this an original Mackenzie design? Like, was this green always like this? And I would just hammer him. And he was so awesome. Like, the guy, I'd never seen him angry. I never seen him flustered. There was a time where, so because of my experience, they had me spraying greens and doing things really early that most interns wouldn't do. And one of the things I did, they had a assistant who's now on the East Coast that developed this old sprayer called the Odd. And all it had was a nozzle on the front of the sprayer that you'd put wetting agent in the tank and you would spray drain lines with that one nozzle. And something happened to where we got too much product in the tank or wrong product or something. And every drain line I sprayed, like, torched out. Every single one on all Cypress Point. And it was very noticeable. And I'm sure like these, you know, billionaire members were going to Jeff like, what in the world is going on? And Jeff was never angry, never mad, never stopped me from spraying, never did anything. He just said, let's figure out what happened and let's not do it again. And that's it. And to see his demeanor in a time like that, like, it taught me so much. Like, if that guy can be like that cool, calm, and collective in that environment, then anything's, you know, you can be cool in any environment.
Have you met anyone that drinks more coffee than Jeff?
Jeff's the man. Not only coffee.
He is.
So I don't know if there still is, but there was a Coke machine in the mechanics bay, and he would drink, like, he called it Coca-Cola. He would drink Cokes all day after the coffee. So me and him have a love for caffeine. So we would both just, like, I was drinking Cherry Coke Zero at the time, and he was drinking, like, Diet Coke, and we were just, like, hammering them.
That's awesome.
It's crazy though. He's always so even keeled, but yeah, the man could ingest an immense amount of caffeine.
It is hilarious. It's so funny. I took my wife out to California in that area in December, and Jeff came over and, you know, had a couple of drinks with us in the evening. And as soon as he left, my wife just looks at me. He's like, "That guy is at the number 2 golf course in the world." I'm like, yeah, he's chill. He's chill. He's the best. So enough about Jeff. He's a legend, great role model for sure. But you brought it up a couple times here, Stewart, where you talked about getting the resources needed. Mm-hmm. How, you know, your situation might be a little different. I'm not sure, you know, if it's single owner or what that is, but just in general, how do you go about asking for and building the case to get the resources that you need?
So to give you an outlook on our situation, Arate Collective is the developer behind Loraloma. A lot of our executives came from Discovery Land, so that's kind of the model. I think they wanted to be like Discovery, but even with better golf, with more modern minimalist architects, better pieces of property, things like that. So that was the idea. So you have to, when you're interviewing, you have to vet the ownership to the managing director, those folks, and you just have to, choose them as much as they choose you. And you have to know, are you all in? Do you want to be? They kept telling me, we want to be the best conditioned course in Texas. We want to be the best conditioned. So I said, do you understand what that's going to take? Like the resources are direct correlation to the product that we're able to produce. And so I just told them, I said, this is what it's going to take. Here's the comps. I think the most important thing you can do, and there's like a survey that superintendents do down here that we're part of, that go through every single line item in the budget, and you can use that as a tool. It's not something that I would take to your ownership or your greens committee, but you can use those comps to make your arguments. And that's the key. These people want to see numbers. They're spreadsheet people. And as long as you can prove your case, especially if it's on paper, it shouldn't be an issue. Now, there's a lot of guys that get in situations like my dad was in for years, where expectations are much higher than your resources. And as a superintendent, you have to make a decision. Is this where I'm going to be? Is the world I'm going to live in, or am I going to strive for something more? And that's the decision I made. I knew I had to get out of that situation and work at the places I worked at and build the pedigree to get at a place that had the proper resources. So I understand it completely from both ends. But I think at this level, they're not just going to take your word for it. You have to show comps. You have to, and you have to prove yourself once they give you those resources.
So Stu, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about the crew. And, we talk to superintendents to take on big jobs and stuff like this. A lot of the times it's, well, I sort of adopted the old crew that was here and they knew kind of how to do everything. So they taught me a lot. And this isn't the case here. This is completely brand new. You got to form your own crew, form your own routes, figure out how we're going to do things. What kind of a learning process was that like, and going through all that? And have you guys changed a lot of stuff since you started?
It's kind of the ultimate, is what I tell my assistants. It's like, there is nothing. You're never going to have an experience like this again. What I would tell everyone when they walked in the door is, I don't want to hear about how you did it somewhere else, because
Yeah.
we are setting a new standard. We're on a new variety of grass. We're in a very unique environment. Like, we are going to develop our own policies and procedures, and we are in a fortunate position where we can define them from day one. And I think that's one of the reasons we're successful, is we're not coming in and fixing something. We're developing something from scratch. And to be able to do that is like a once in a lifetime experience. And don't get me wrong, it's a ton of work. When I got to site, like, it had been cleared, they pushed out some underbrush and gave me a gravel parking lot, and that was what I had. So I had to go get a construction trailer, Connex boxes, growing equipment, started hiring people. Like, it is a lot. And there's a reason why when there's new builds, they want people that have done growings in the past, because it is a completely different world. And there's so many obstacles, but going through it, you kind of learn, and you learn to overcome. And, but one of the best parts is being able to set your operation from day one and your practices. And really, we haven't tweaked them much because our expectations were so high, and we had kind of routes and stuff in place that I stole from Cypress Point and Olympia Fields, and my assistant stole from Boot Ranch and Cordillera. So we just kind of melded all those together and came up with our own deal. And it's always getting tweaked, but we're pretty much operating like we did on day one.
Was it challenging trying to find people to fill the team?
We are only 30 minutes from Austin, but that's as a crow flies. So we're drive time, you're at least 45 minutes. And there is nothing out in Spicewood, Texas, other than, Willie Nelson's Luck Ranch and Austin Golf Club, which has been Crenshaw's little private club. They're our neighbors. So there's not a lot going on here. There is going to be. I mean, our development alone is massive. Man, you got Travis Club down the road. So there's not a huge workforce here. And we had to pay guys $20 to $25 an hour, full benefits starting. And when you put that into a spreadsheet and times that by 26 laborers plus all your management guys, like that number, and salaries are always going to be 50-60% of your budget, but it's becoming such a huge line item that I don't know what the future is going to be. We're still struggling. Like our goal is to be at 26 groundskeepers, but we're always fluctuating right around that number, and we're losing people to go build the border wall or this or that for numbers that we can never pay them. Otherwise, this won't be sustainable. So I think that's where autonomous mowing and some of these newer technologies is going to come into play, because it is very difficult finding labor here, and it's not sustainable to pay your bottom guy, 50, 60,000 plus overtime a year.
Very interesting. So last week we talked to Jim Pavinetti. He spoke a lot about, you know, the vibe at the club, everybody talking about the club, the things going on at the club. Again, being brand new, getting to kind of set the stage of what's going on and your standards and all that kind of stuff. Talk to us a little bit about kind of how you guys are setting that all up. Of course, that has no traditions, no history. How does that sort of look?
It's awesome because if it's a good idea, I say it's myself and the director of golf's idea. If it's a bad idea, I say, oh, that's DMK. DMK wanted that. And there's one going on right now is he played Pine Valley before he built this property, and there's no rakes in the bunkers. So he didn't want to put rakes in the bunkers. So now we're dealing with, starting to get into our member event season and stuff, and there's no rakes. And they come to us like, why is there no rakes? And that was a DMK decision. And so we tell them, but there's a few things like that might need to be tweaked over time, but setting the vibe and like kind of what the course is going to be, the dress code, the tournaments, what everything's named, picking the flag sticks, the tee markers, the directional signage, like keeping everything low key and classy. Like that is one of the funnest parts of this is everything is developed from day one. And if you're a creative person, like there's so many different things you can tweak. And I have to give a lot of credit to our director of golf, Spencer Sheeler, for coming up with good ideas and stuff to kind of set that vibe for the membership. And I think they're really enjoying it. And our golf course it just plays phenomenally, and it's aesthetically pleasing. So they are extremely happy with the product as well. So when your membership's happy, it's a fun place to work.
Talk about your membership communication. How do you go about educating your members?
It's hard in the early days because we started out only with like 30, 40 memberships. So I try to do a lot of FaceTime with them, but I'm constantly talking to members on social media. It's why I post so much on Instagram. It's really for them. And when they comment, oh, that looks great, or this or that, or I played this week and it was great. And I just tell them, I say, we built this for you. This is for you. So a lot of it's through social media, but we do send a member communication out about once a month, and I put in a little blurb in that. But I think the most important thing is getting to know your memberships, being there on the first tee. We have a temporary clubhouse set up right now, and there's days where I'll spend like half a day in there just getting to know members. And I think that's the most important thing is FaceTime. And then so the one great thing that social media has done is being able to like build relationship with these guys before you even meet them in person. And that's been and a lot of our members are national members. So that's how I stay in touch with them too. So it's a really cool tool that I use for that.
Nice. You mentioned, you built this club for them to enjoy. How do you balance the feeling of this golf course as your baby versus it's their golf course that you're just kind of in charge of caring for?
That's a great question.
So, a great question. So thankfully, my dad and Jeff Marco kind of rammed that into my head is like, this is not your golf course. And the golf course I grew up on really felt like it was because I was born there. I went there from day one. Instead of going to daycare or even preschool, my dad would take me to work. Like I spent all my childhood at the golf course in the maintenance shop. And so it really felt like our place, and then playing in leagues with members and stuff and hearing them be critical of my dad sometimes, like it really like hurt me personally. And I just learned back then, it's like, this is not your golf course. Like this is their, you built this for a membership. You're in the service industry, you serve members, and just keeping that mindset, I think is critical because you do have to take ownership of it to kind of make it your own and have the passion to produce these level of conditions, but you also always have to understand the only reason we're here is because there's golf. It's just like when we open, like we went months of growing with no golfers, and then we started having golfers, and my guys were like, man, it's kind of a pain having golfers and not being able to get everything we want to get done. And I'm like, guys, the only reason we're here is because of them. Like, this is their property. We built it for them, and the only reason we're here is because of them. And you got to always keep that in the front of your mind.
They are the bosses, right? So what about your golf game, Stu? You got to play the course. How does it look?
So the one cool thing is having built the course and growing it in and been the first employee in here from day one is our marketing team likes to put me with any kind of VIP that wants to play. They always put me with them so I can describe how everything was built and designed and stuff, because DMK is only here now for like events and stuff like that because his work is done. So I get to play, like I played the other day with Willie Nelson's son, Lucas. I played with Tom Kite. Eric Anders Lang from Random Golf Club's become one of my best friends down here. Michelin star chefs in Austin and stuff. And it's great for networking, but it's really cool to kind of watch these guys, like the good guys have been out several times, Brad Dalkey and Sean Walsh. And to see really good players play your property and play it how everything was designed is so cool. My game is not where I want it to be because I didn't play at all during growing. But I'm, now that everything's open and the practice facilities are open, I'm trying to get it back.
Nice. Good to hear. Good to hear. We like to give the floor to our guests. So I don't know, Stu, if there was anything you wanted to specifically talk about today or plug.
I just think like now is the time. And in our industry, growing up in the 90s, there was this golf boom. And then when the economy kind of fell out like that, there was a hard stop to that. And now we all have this opportunity where all these new courses are being built. So if you have the opportunity to be part of one of these projects, I know it's not easy getting the position, especially if you haven't done one before, but I would highly recommend. Like, there's so much you'll learn and there's so many doors that'll open for you. And it's probably the most challenging thing you'll ever do in your career, but it's also the most rewarding thing we've ever done. And I also think it's important to move. Like, I didn't want to leave my fiance. I have a beautiful fiance back in Michigan that's I miss dearly, but I had to move to better my career and further us as a family. And I think for young guys out there, just take chances, like move, try to be part of one of these grow-ins, these new builds. And I think you'll see how much it can change your life and how rewarding it is.
One more question for you here, Stewart, because you brought it up twice. You brought up the golf boom. How does our industry keep pace with the boom?
It's interesting because I now that we've done a successful new build and DMK's out there telling all his architect friends of how good a job and how good our turf is, I get a lot of phone calls, and you would think things are slowing down, but they're not. I mean, in Texas, Florida, and South Carolina in particular, things haven't slowed down at all. Now, is that going to happen? We all know, we've all lived long enough to know it's going to come at some point. But what I can say is it hasn't happened yet. So I would ride this wave as long as you can, and be grateful that you're in this part of your career at this time, because it's been phenomenal.
Yeah, I keep telling my wife that all the time too. I'm like, golf is booming. I gotta go. Like, someday
Yes.
there's gonna be a correction, and we won't have all these phone calls. So let's take advantage of it now.
Yeah, ride the wave while you can.
That's it. That's it. Well, Stewart, this has been absolutely phenomenal. Great interview here. This hour just absolutely flew by. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us, and look forward to hopefully getting down there at some point and testing out your turf.
My pleasure. I'd love to host both of you. And if you're ever in the Austin area, Brian or Adam, hit me up, and I'd love to play around with you and give you guys a tour.
Absolutely. That'd be a ton of fun.
we're not quite at that media stature as some of those other guys you name, but it's
No.
okay. You'll
get
hang
there.
out with some of us low
We'll get
lives
there.
every now and then.
You guys are my people, so I'd rather hang out with you than any Tommy Fight or any celebrity any day of the week.
That'd be
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
One thing I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you today, I had written down here and I glanced over earlier. I roomed with a guy that went to Michigan State, played hockey at Michigan State, and I still think about him telling me about those basketball games, the traditions, the white shirts. Can you just tell
Oh.
everybody about that quickly? Because that's so cool.
So I grew up a hardcore Michigan State football, basketball, hockey fan. Like we went to games because my dad was part of the Michigan Turfgrass Foundation, which raises money for research, turfgrass research at Michigan State University. So he got really good tickets because of that. And I was just like from the Flintstone days of,
man.
and those guys are from my
Mateen
hometown where I was
Cleaves.
born. Mo P, Mateen
Oh,
Cleaves,
God.
Antonio Smith, Charlie Bell. Like I saw those guys in high school, and then to see them go and win a national title at like my alma mater, like my baby, like it was like a dream come true. And then the Mark D'Antonio era in football, like we had a lot of good runs, and Tom Izzo's still at it. He has like 4 or 5 of the top 100 recruits coming next year to the basketball program, and I think we'll make another run at it. But a lot of people may or may not know this, but Michigan State, from a football and basketball standpoint and hockey, like there's not too many schools that are that strong athletically. And to be part of that as a kid, as a student, and now as an alumnus, it's like it's a big part of my life, and it will be until the day I die.
All I know is Adam Ikamas had to cancel the tie bet because he got tired of wearing a scarlet tie every single GCSAA conference. So I don't know.
Well,
Just saying.
my director at golf's a big Buckeye too. He's
Nice.
And you guys are tough, but I'm grateful for y'all because that's where D'Antonio came from.
Yep.
Without Ohio State, there is no Mark D'Antonio. So I have no issue as long as you don't like the Walmart Wolverines down the. We'll get along just fine.
Walmart Wolverine.
Nope. The enemy of their enemy is thy friend, right? That's how
I look at it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Cool. All right, man. A blast as always. Again, thanks so much. And I look forward to connecting with you sometime down the road.
My pleasure. Thank you guys so much.
All right, man.
Awesome,
Take care.
Stu. Thanks so much, man.
Yep, anytime.
Intelli360 is a fleet management tool created by Toro that enables superintendents to track equipment, view its operation status, operating hours and maintenance needs, as well as create work orders. And now, for 2026, you can order parts directly from the platform. Plus, you can build some shopping and wish lists to streamline operations across your entire staff. To learn more, visit toro.com/Intelli360 for more details. Toro, count on it. 200 days to grow in. So you plant it all, and then you sit there for what? A month, 2 months before anything even pops. So you're like, that's got to be so fucking stressful.
Well, it's well, that sprigging process is just, it's ridiculous. You can get stuff pretty well stitched together from what I've seen in like 2 weeks with some Bermuda. But 200 days. And that's one of the things, in the back of my mind, I was thinking, who else has Lazer Zoysia? And I'm pretty sure PGA Frisco has it on their practice putting green, or like their 2-acre putting green up by kind of like their big shopping center area. And I remember they picked that specifically because of its wear tolerance. They wouldn't have to move whole locations as much. It's a slower grower, some of those things. So that makes sense. 200 days or something for that stuff to really be ready to go. That's that takes another level of patience that I don't have.
Yeah, when he was saying 200 hot days too, so
you
get some cold weather or some rain or something like that.
Yeah, well, fortunately for them, they usually get 200 pretty hot days.
Right, yeah. You plan it out properly, and you get it right in that spot.
Yeah, no, great episodes, Stu. Very knowledgeable, great leader. Mm-hmm. Sounds like he's implemented some really cool things there. Great team philosophy, it sounds like. Great team culture, giving guys 3 weeks off, basically. That's huge.
Yeah,
especially
nice.
Texas, when it's a 360 365 days a year type place. That's great.
I love the idea of showing up to a new shop and just being like, it's us. We get to do this. We get to decide how this goes, when this goes, why this goes, and create it all. And then 100 years later, someone says, I don't know. It's just how they've always done it here. And you were the guy that
Yeah.
did that. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That would be so much fun being involved in a new build and picking flag sticks and picking, all the different things that go into
Hmm.
that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that would be cool. Were you dying over there? Like allergies and shit? Because we
Oh
are,
man, I got some allergies
holy,
going on. The kids are like bringing home all sorts of viral infections, and so it's just
yeah. My
yeah,
wife and I, for like 2 weeks, we keep texting each other. You feeling any better today? No. You
yeah,
feeling any better? No,
oh
today. Worse. Like, oh God,
yeah,
can't kick it.
no,
But
no,
this
it's
time of
going around the
year,
entire family.
it's never fun.
Yeah, no, it's always something. Yeah, my wife was giving me a hard time. She's like, "Hey, it's just allergies, huh? It's just allergies." I'm like, "Well, it's the main part of it, but
Yeah.
yeah."
So we had a couple people write in again asking for shows or movies. I don't know if you've had the time to watch anything recently.
The new Your Friends and Neighbors is out, so that's my current show that we're watching here at home. Trying to think if there really hasn't been a ton else that we've been getting into.
Yeah.
You find anything fun?
We haven't gotten into too much lately either. The one that I have been watching is called The Pit, which is
Oh yeah,
it's like an ER drama. And I used to watch ER as a kid, which is a terrible thing to watch as a kid, but I had a black and white TV with three channels in my room, and that used to play at night. So it's a nostalgic one for me. It's very good. It's called The Pit because it's the ER room in Pittsburgh. I just wanted to mention, I'm not no spoiler alerts. It's a very good show. They won a bunch of awards, but they have a character in the show. He's a patient, and it comes out that he's a groundskeeper. And
oh no way.
these guys all love him. He's a wonderful person. Just he's not in every episode, but he's sprinkled throughout, and he's a great character. And I just love how the writers or the producers or whatever put in that he was a greenskeeper or a groundskeeper. And I can't honestly think of another show or movie where they had somebody like that and in a really positive light. So that was
Yeah.
really, really cool to see.
Yeah, there was one movie, I can't remember what it was, with I think Renee Zellweger played, she was like a superintendent, was like part of her character.
Oh
I can't
yeah,
remember what movie it was. Yeah, it's an older one.
that's funny.
Yeah,
Because
I
you
can't
can
think
only
of
think
it.
of Caddyshack, right? Like
Yeah,
Carl Spackler.
right,
But
right.
that actually got me thinking though, like how much did his character hurt our industry and the image of the actual
Oh yeah.
superintendent?
No, constantly fighting that image.
Yeah,
100%. Because
that's
that's all people think of when they
that's
think
what
of that role.
right. It's not that they have to redo that one, but somebody should make a
Yeah.
really good movie about a superintendent and all the things that
Yeah.
happen on the golf course. It'd be good to be able to put some more light on that to, a little bit more mainstream. But
Yeah.
anyways, check out The Pit. That's a good one. As long as you can handle some of the stuff that happens at a hospital, it's a great show. And yeah, there's a groundskeeper in it.
And that's awesome. All right, man. We'll
Okay,
catch you
buddy.
soon.
Okay,
All
good
right.
job. We'll chat soon.
Yeah, you too. Later.
We are back with another Ask the Agronomist segment featuring PhD agronomist Tony Goldsby from the Andersons. Our question this week comes in from Mike Haywood. What's the biggest thing golfers complain about that actually benefits the long-term health of the golf course?
Well, awesome. Thanks again, Adam, for having me on the show again this week. And thanks again for all the great end users questions that we're always getting. And this one from Mike this week. And honestly, probably should have had all the great supers that are tuned in. So give us probably more about what they hear, Adam,
Yeah.
and yourself on the courses, because I'm sure you guys probably hear complaints more than obviously I do. But when I think about things like probably any cultural practice, right, that's going to disrupt those playing surfaces, or all golfers, right? We just need a little excuse to why we didn't make that putt, or whatever didn't go down for us the day that we're playing. And if you think of something like core aeration, which is just a necessary evil, especially a lot of spring and fall agronomic plans, and nobody loves putting on those aerified greens, or seeing those disruptions for that week or whatever it usually takes to kind of get them healed back in. But the big thing is those practices are just absolutely critical for the long-term, turf health, and unfortunately not really one that you can necessarily cut back on or take out of your program, even though again they are somewhat disruptive. So, for those that are trying to educate, obviously their patrons and their board members on why that's important. That organic matter and just building up over time and really making sure that you don't get puffy, softer surfaces that also really tend not to drain as well. Get lower oxygen in the root zone, all things that don't ultimately make your turf happy and strong, which is what you want on a putting surface. So, sometimes you got to think about that short-term inconvenience and, how in the long term you're protecting playability and really that turf quality to make sure that it's going to be there, through the entire golf season. So little short-term pain for a lot of long-term gain.
Yeah, and that's huge. And I think that kind of relates to what we've been talking about lately on the show about how you really have to kind of, dictate the narrative at your course. So if you're educating people on what you're doing, you're talking to other departments about when aeration is and how it's going to be, and maybe you're discounting rounds, you're able to really work around it as opposed to just pretending like nothing's happening out there and you're trying to run it day to day. So yeah, that's very important. I was also going to mention too the golf carts. If it's a 90-degree rule or if it's a cart path
Great
only
one.
rule,
Yeah,
that's also something people complain about. Even myself, when I go out to play golf and it's 90 degrees or cart path only, you're kind of like, come on. But
yeah,
there is a reason behind it. So
for sure, for sure. Yep. And then once that season's over, I got to come up with a new excuse why I couldn't make that putt. So,
there's always that. That's
there's always
awesome.
that.
Well, we'll see you next week, Tony. This wraps up another Ask the Agronomist segment featuring Dr. Tony Goldsby from the Andersons.